Long before Siddhattha Gotama walked barefoot through the dusty roads of ancient India, long before the Bodhi tree cast its sacred shade upon the world, there were others. The earth had already heard the footsteps of the awakened. It was a quiet dusk in the Jetavana monastery. The orange hues of the sun spilled over the rooftops as the breeze carried the fragrance of sandalwood and lotus. Anthapika, the wealthy lay disciple, sat by the side of the Buddha, his heart filled with wonder. The Buddha had just delivered a deep discourse on impermanence and the path of liberation, and silence had fallen like a gentle curtain. Then, with the curiosity of a child but the reverence of a devotee, Anthapika asked, "Venerable sir, you speak of the Dhamma as if it is timeless. Was this Dhamma taught before you?" The Buddha smiled, a smile that carried the weight of eons. "Yes, householder. I did not invent the path. I rediscovered what had been lost." Anthapika's eyes widened. "Lost?" The Buddha nodded slowly. The Dhamma arises and vanishes like the sun. When darkness covers the world, a Buddha arises to bring light once more. Before me, there were others. 7 Buddhas have walked this earth in previous ages. And so began a story not often told, hidden like precious jewels beneath the layers of dust and time. The forgotten Buddhas. These 7 Buddhas, as mentioned in the Satana Buddha Udana and other ancient Pali sources, are Vipassī Buddha, Sikhī Buddha, Vessabhū Buddha, Kakusandha Buddha, Koṇāgamana Buddha, Kassapa Buddha, Gotama Buddha, the historical Buddha, but only the last, Gotama, is known widely. The rest have become shadows, their memories fading into myth. Yet in the sacred pages of the Pali canon, their lives echo still. Let us go back, far back, into the dim corridors of cosmic time. The aeon of the brilliant flame, the Vipassī Buddha. It is said that the eons are countless, stretching into the past like the waves of an endless ocean. But there was one long ago, known in the texts as the Kappa of the brilliant flame, when the world was bathed in clarity and beings lived for tens of thousands of years. In that distant age, the land was ruled by truth, and kings governed with the 10 royal virtues. Among them arose a prince named Vipassī, meaning the one who sees clearly. From birth, his mind was luminous. He walked unaided as a child and looked upon the world with eyes that pierced illusion. The devas whispered, "This one will remember the Dhamma." As he grew, the signs of a great being emerged. A golden body, a voice like the sound of a lion, and a boundless compassion for all. When he saw the 4 sights, age, sickness, death, and the renunciant, he left his luxurious palace and wandered into the forest. There, under a Pāli tree, he meditated deeply. On the full moon of Visakha, the earth shook. He awoke. Vipassī Buddha was the first in this world cycle to rediscover the path of dependent origination. He taught with words that flowed like a river of fire, burning ignorance wherever they landed. But in time, his disciples passed away, the teachings faded, and the world fell into shadow once more. The aeon of the radiant star, Sikhī Buddha. Thousands of eons later, in a world scarred by decay and rebirth, the second light arose, Sikhī Buddha. He was named after the flame-shaped crest of his head, a symbol of his brilliance. The legends say he was born during a time when people lived for 70,000 years. Even the trees gave milk instead of sap, and the rivers sang. Sikhī was a being of grace, his presence calming wild beasts and cruel hearts alike. Like Vipassī before him, he saw the same 4 signs and renounced the world. He meditated under a Mandarava tree and attained full enlightenment. His Dhamma was sharp like a diamond and soft like a lotus. He taught vast assemblies, some say numbering in the millions. But as all things conditioned, his teachings, too, vanished after his passing. The world grows colder, Vessabhū Buddha. The third was Vessabhū, the last of the Buddhas of the ancient age. Born during a time of conflict and decline, Vessabhū was the cooling rain after fire. His name means the world-bearer, for his teachings uplifted humanity once more. Under the sal tree, he awakened, and his first sermon resounded like a drumbeat across the world. He taught the 4 noble truths with crystal clarity. Even the kings laid down their weapons upon hearing his voice. But as cycles turned, and memory withered, even Vessabhū's name was whispered only in the dreams of sages. The aeon of the dull earth for Buddhas to come. Time moved like a snake in the grass, quiet, ceaseless, coiling back upon itself. The world darkened, morality weakened, lifespan shrank. It is said only 5 Buddhas will arise in this aeon, and Gotama is the 4th. But before Gotama walked the earth, the echoes of Kakusandha and Koṇāgamana still lingered. A golden line across time. What unites these Buddhas? They did not learn the Dhamma from others. They rediscovered it. Each was born in a world where no teaching remained, where ignorance reigned supreme. Through sheer mental clarity and boundless effort, they penetrated the truths hidden within existence itself. They saw all phenomena are impermanent. There is no self, no core essence to cling to. Suffering arises from craving and can be extinguished through the Eightfold Path. These truths were not invented. They were uncovered again and again by beings of perfect clarity. The wheel of time kept turning. Mountains crumbled, oceans shifted, and stars died. Yet, amid the rise and fall of civilizations, certain truths remained untouched, awaiting rediscovery. And rediscovered they were. In the current cosmic era, known as the Bodhitree, the fortunate aeon, 5 Buddhas are destined to arise, for have already walked the earth. Kakusandha Buddha, Koṇāgamana Buddha, Kassapa Buddha, Gotama Buddha. The 5th, Metteyya, is yet to come. This is the story of the 3 Buddhas who came before Gotama in our world cycle, whose lives laid the groundwork for the enlightened one we know today. Kakusandha Buddha, the first light of the Bodhitree. Long before the kingdom of Magadha had risen, before the Ganges had become sacred, a golden city stood tall, Khemavati. It was in this city, in a world that still remembered echoes of past Buddhas, that Kakusandha was born. His name meant one who is firm, and firm indeed was his resolve. He was born during a time when the average lifespan was 40,000 years. Even so, the world had begun to decay. Greed had spread like a slow poison. People spoke truth less often, and cruelty appeared in flickers. As a prince, Kakusandha saw the same 4 sights: age, illness, death, and the peaceful recluse, and his heart stirred. He renounced the throne and wandered into the wilderness. Beneath an acacia tree, he sat in meditation, unmoved by wind or insects or hunger. On the day of the full moon, realization struck like lightning. Sabsakranika, all conditioned things are impermanent. He rose not as a prince, but as a Sammasambutta, a fully enlightened one. Kakusandha taught in rhythmic verse. His voice was slow, deliberate, and filled with authority. His chief disciples, Vidura and Sanjiva, helped spread his teachings across the land. A massive monastic order followed him, and kings built stupas the size of mountains in his honor. But as always, the sands of time swept even this greatness away. The earth grew darker once more. Koṇāgamana Buddha, the gentle healer. After many thousands of years, another Buddha appeared, Koṇāgamana. His name means, one who comes with a measure, signifying the precision of his teachings. Born in the city of Vessabhū, he entered the world with an aura of peace. He was gentle even as a child. When he played in the fields, deer would approach him without fear. When he spoke, even quarreling adults fell silent. He renounced the world upon witnessing suffering, like all Buddhas before him. Under a fig tree, he meditated for 7 days without moving. The dawn of enlightenment arrived like a quiet breath. Koṇāgamana Buddha's teachings were like cool water on a burning wound. He emphasized kindness, harmony, and the subtle workings of karma. His followers often remarked that listening to him felt like sitting in moonlight, soft, luminous, and penetrating. The people who followed him lived longer, spoke more truthfully, and turned toward compassion. Yet even such a renaissance could not halt the natural law. All things that arise must also pass away. And so the second Buddha of the Bodhitree entered final nibbana, and his teachings too disappeared over time. Kassapa Buddha, the stern teacher. Before the birth of Gotama, there arose a Buddha whose presence was like a mountain, solid, immovable, and awe-inspiring. He was Kassapa, born in the city of Braj, now known as Varanasi. The world had changed drastically by his time. Lifespans had shortened to 20,000 years. Greed had worsened. Hypocrisy was rising. But in this age of confusion, Kassapa was born with a clarity as sharp as diamond. Unlike the gentle Koṇāgamana, Kassapa was stern. He taught with firm resolve. His Dhamma was rigorous. He demanded discipline and precision. His monastic order was among the most ascetic of all. He attained enlightenment under a banyan tree, and his first sermon was delivered in a voice that shook the forests. Animals fled. Thunder roared in the distance. Let go of all clinging, for nothing here belongs to you, not even the self. Kassapa Buddha's teachings spread far, but fewer people followed. The times were harder. Fewer seeds of virtue remained in the soil of humanity. Still, a few great disciples blossomed, men and women of rare brilliance. One such monk was Jyotippala, a Brahmin youth who once mocked Kassapa's path until, after deep reflection, he renounced the world and became a monk. It is said that this same Jyotippala was later reborn as Siddhattha Gotama, a world waiting in darkness. When Kassapa Buddha passed into Parinibbana, the world fell into what the texts call a Dhamma eclipse. No more teachings remained. The Sangha was gone. The people gradually forgot the Eightfold Path. The very idea of Nibbana faded into the mists of forgotten mythology. Generations came and went, worshipping gods, waging wars, chasing wealth. But in the subtle layers of consciousness, the seed of the Dhamma remained, waiting. And then, one day, under the shade of a sal tree in Lumbini, a child was born. The one who remembered. The boy was named Siddhattha of the Gotama clan. A prince, yes, but not just that. He was a man of vast pasts. For countless lives. He had cultivated perfection, 10 paramis, generosity, virtue, renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience, truthfulness, determination, loving-kindness, and equanimity. In the presence of previous Buddhas, he had knelt, vowing, "May I too become a Buddha one day for the sake of all beings." He had been a Bodhisattva, a Buddha to be, under Vipassī, under Sikhī, and Vessabhū. He had received confirmation of his destiny from Pakara, a Buddha even more ancient than the 7 we know. In each life, he gave more, sacrificed more, and clung to less. And now, at last, the world was ready. A great silence fell across the land. For centuries after Kassapa Buddha entered Parinibbana, the world drifted in darkness. The light of the Dhamma was gone, and with it, the path to liberation. But in the endless rhythm of birth and death, the fruit of countless eons of cultivation ripened. A child was born to King Suddhodana and Queen Maya in the city of Kapilavatthu. He was no ordinary child. From the moment he took his first breath, sages whispered, "This boy will either be a great ruler or a Buddha." He was named Siddhattha Gotama, one who achieves his goal. But his true name, his eternal identity, was Bodhisattva, the seeker of Buddhahood. What set him apart from the Buddhas before? Unlike the earlier Buddhas, whose stories have become like distant stars in a forgotten sky, Gotama's life is preserved in vivid detail. Not only did he rediscover the ancient Dhamma, but he did so in a time close enough for us to still hear his words. Let us walk, briefly, through the turning points of his path. The Prince of the Silent Questions. As a child, Gotama possessed an uncanny awareness. While others chased games and gold, he watched the world with quiet intensity. On one spring day, under a rose-apple tree, he entered a deep state of meditation, effortlessly. He was only a boy. At age 29, he saw the 4 sights: an old man, a sick man, a corpse, and a serene ascetic. "What is this life?" he asked, "if all that we cling to ends in suffering?" That single question, echoing the same inquiry that all Buddhas before him had made, drove him to renounce his wealth, wife, and newborn son. He walked into the forest, seeking truth. For 6 years, he practiced the harshest austerities, nearly starving to death. But the more he tortured his body, the more distant the answer seemed. Finally, he recalled that meditation under the rose-apple tree. That, he thought, was the path. He accepted food from a village girl named Sujata and sat beneath a peepal tree, now revered as the Bodhi Tree. And he vowed, "Though my flesh withers and bones turn to dust, I will not rise until I awaken." The night the universe held its breath, it was a full moon night in the month of Visakha. As he meditated, demons arose, not with claws, but with doubts. Mara, the personification of delusion, tried to break his resolve. He hurled fear, desire, pride, and self-doubt. But Gotama sat still. Then Mara cried, "By what right do you claim this seed of awakening?" Gotama reached his right hand down and touched the earth. The earth, silent witness to eons of effort, trembled. Flowers bloomed. The stars seemed to bow. And in that moment, Siddhattha became the Buddha, the awakened one, the echo of the ancient light. With that awakening, the ancient flame, once lit by Vipassī, Sikhī, Vessabhū, Kakusandha, Koṇāgamana, and Kassapa, was rekindled. Gautama Buddha did not invent the Dhamma. He uncovered what was always there. He saw the same timeless truths. Anicca, impermanence. Dukkha, unsatisfactoriness. Anatta, non-self. He saw that all suffering had a cause, ta, craving. And he saw that its end was possible through the Noble Eightfold Path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. This was the path walked by all Buddhas. But Gotama did something more. The teacher of gods and humans. Unlike some past Buddhas whose teachings vanished quickly, Gotama chose to teach widely for 45 years. He walked from village to village, accepting food from strangers, teaching kings and beggars alike. He gave permission to form a monastic community, the Sangha, not just of men but of women, something rare even among ancient sages. He taught in the vernacular, not in Sanskrit, the language of the elite, but in Magadhi, a people's tongue. Later, his words were preserved in Pali, ensuring they would live beyond the age of oral tradition. He refused to appoint a successor, saying, "Be a lamp unto yourselves. Take refuge in the Dhamma." In doing so, he placed trust in wisdom, not worship, in truth, not dogma. What makes Gotama unique among the seven? All Buddhas attain the same enlightenment, but each expresses it differently. Gotama's uniqueness lies in his historical accessibility and ethical clarity. He left behind not just insights, but a comprehensive system of training, morality, sila, meditation, samadhi, and wisdom, panna. His teachings were codified, preserved, and still practiced in near original form today, especially in the Pali tradition. He taught not to believe blindly, but to test everything by direct experience. His Dhamma was open to all castes, genders, and backgrounds, a radical act in ancient India. Gotama's presence was not just that of a sage, it was a revolution of consciousness. The line continues. As the Buddha approached death, his disciples wept. "Who will guide us now?" they asked. And he answered, "The Dhamma and the Vinaya, the teachings and discipline, I have taught you. These shall be your teacher after I am gone." On the full moon night of Visakha, at the age of 80, he lay between two sal trees in Kusinara. As the trees bloomed out of season, he entered Parinibbana, final release. But he left behind not a doctrine, not a dogma, but a path. The same path walked by the 6 Buddhas before him. The teachings of Gautama Buddha spread far and wide, across kingdoms, mountains, and seas. Some worshipped him as a god. Others misunderstood him. But the wisest knew he was not a god, not a prophet, not a savior sent by another. He was a human being who had awakened to reality as it is. He had followed a path carved by 6 Buddhas before him. He had rediscovered a truth that is not bound to any name or time. But the story does not end with him. The circle is not complete. In the Bodhi Kappa, the fortunate aeon, 5 Buddhas are destined to arise, for have already walked the earth. Kakusandha, Koṇāgamana, Kassapa, Gotama, and the 5th is yet to come. Metteyya, or Maitreya in Sanskrit, the Buddha of the future. His name means the loving one. And he will arise when the teachings of Gotama have faded from memory, when the world once again becomes dark, craving dominates, and the path is lost. But who is Metteyya? And what does it mean for us to live between Buddhas? The promise of Metteyya. The Buddha himself spoke of the future Buddha. At that time, the beings on earth will live long. They will speak truth, they will be kind. And among them, a Buddha named Metteyya will arise. He will be born in Kedamati, a magnificent city said to be as glorious as ancient capitals of the gods. The world will be peaceful then, and the people will long for meaning, not war. Metteyya will not be a miraculous god descending from heaven. He will be like all Buddhas, a human who awakens through wisdom, effort, and boundless compassion. Some traditions say that those who keep the 5 precepts, cultivate mindfulness, and walk the path of Dhamma may one day be reborn in Metteyya's time and hear the Dhamma directly from him. But this is not just a prophecy, it is a mirror, the timeless message of the 7 Buddhas. Each Buddha walked the same path. Each one saw the arising and passing of all things anicca, the unsatisfactoriness of clinging dukkha, the absence of a fixed self, anatta. They did not bring religion. They brought insight. Their lives are not just stories of saints. They are maps of awakening. They show us that enlightenment is not reserved for the divine. It is the natural potential of the mind, buried beneath layers of delusion. Every Buddha sits beneath a tree, touches the earth, sees the same Four Noble Truths, and turns the wheel of Dhamma. This is not coincidence. It is a cosmic rhythm, a pulse of wisdom that rises and fades, only to rise again. Why so many Buddhas? Why not just one? Because truth must be rediscovered. Like a trail in the forest that vanishes under leaves, the Dhamma disappears when forgotten or distorted. Then, a new Buddha arises, not to improve the path, but to reveal it once more. Each Buddha walks alone. Each Buddha teaches from his own insight, not from scriptures, not from revelation. They are self-awakened ones, unshaken by opinion, tradition, or praise. But their message is always the same. There is suffering. There is a cause. There is an end. And there is a way. Walking among the Buddhas. To live in the age between Buddhas is both a blessing and a burden. It is a blessing because we still have Gotama's teachings, recorded, chanted, practiced, alive. It is a burden because we must guard this flame. Like a candle in the wind, the Dhamma can be twisted, diluted, or lost. The stories of the 7 Buddhas remind us. Awakening is not a miracle, it is a practice. They remind us that our journey does not begin with belief, but with observation. Can you see impermanence? Can you feel the dissatisfaction and craving? Can you rest in awareness, free from clinging? If yes, then you are walking the same path they did. The quiet invitation. Gotama once said, "He who sees the Dhamma, sees me." To see the Dhamma is not to see a doctrine. It is to see clearly. You don't need to wait for Metteyya. You don't need to be reborn in a future golden age. This moment is enough. If you breathe with mindfulness, speak with compassion, and reflect on the nature of mind and self, you are already stepping into the same stream that the 7 Buddhas entered. You are not a follower. You are a walker of the way. And perhaps, in some far-off aeon, you too may become a Buddha. The final bow. The ancient texts tell us that the Buddha once stood before a great assembly and said, "Before me, there were Buddhas. After me, there will be Buddhas. But the Dhamma remains the same." And with those words, he bowed, not to a god, not to a teacher, but to the truth itself. In that gesture lies the heart of this story. Not to worship Buddhas, but to become awake like them. Not to pray for salvation, but to walk the path step by step. Not to wait for the future, but to wake up here and now. Epilogue. The 8th flame. In a distant future, long after our names are forgotten, when Earth has turned many times and the stars have shifted in the sky, Metteyya will sit beneath a tree. He will remember the path. He will awaken. And someone will ask, "Have there been Buddhas before you?" And he will smile and say, "Yes, 7 came before me. I remember them all. And perhaps, just perhaps, you will be there too, not as a listener, but as a light, already burning from within."